You're listening to Seattle Real Estate Podcast.
Hey everybody, I'm Sean Reynolds, the owner of Summit Properties Northwest, Reynolds and Kline Appraisal, but most importantly, your host of this episode of the Seattle Real Estate Podcast. What we're talking about today is Amazon. Seattle's own Amazon has had 20,000 people get the Rona. 20,000 employees have got the Rona. It sounds like an enormous number, doesn't it? It's really not. Or is it? We're just going to have to dive in here and find out. So this is a story from, it was kind of a national story that I found. And I thought because Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post, we should read it from the Washington Post. Because why not? Actually, the content, I read through several articles and content's all about the same. But I just think it's funny that he owns both the Washington Post and Amazon. News is out there on a story on Amazon. San Francisco, Amazon said Thursday that nearly 20,000 people, not 20,000 people, 20,000 of its U.S. employees had tested positive or had been presumed positive for the coronavirus since the pandemic started spreading through the country this year. Presumed positive. I'm not really sure what that means. Is that like if your spouse has it and you're just presumed positive that you've had it, but they don't want to waste the test? I think that's what it means, right? I don't know. If you're on YouTube watching this, let me know in the comments if you have a better version of what presumed positive it is. The retailer has faced harsh criticism this year as hundreds of workers and critics have said it hasn't done enough to keep employees safe as they work in its warehouses amid a surge in demand to send items to shoppers across the country. I remember this being a pretty big story early on because Amazon was deemed essential because they're getting stuff to people who are stuck at home quarantining, then they've got to basically press their workers to get this stuff out willy-nilly because people are. Do you remember early on in the whole Rona shutdown? Everything online was backed up. There was no getting anything for a long time. Amazon took a lot of heat, but guess what? They send out a lot of stuff. They got a lot of workers. And that's kind of one of the reasons I'm doing this post, is because when you put this all in perspective, I think Amazon has actually done a pretty good job if you look at the numbers. So let's keep going. Amazon said in a blog post that the number of employees who have had the illness includes its workers at its grocery chain stores, Whole Foods Market, where one of my kids works, for Amazon, but at the Whole Foods Market, getting groceries ready, getting food orders out to people. In total, 19,816 employees have had COVID-19 between March 1 and September 19th. Or about 1.44% of the 1.372 million frontline workers employed by Amazon during that period. So that's the number, right? 19,000, call it 20,000. Let's round up. Let's give Amazon the benefit of the doubt, and we're just going to throw them a few, whatever it is. Is it 100? How many do we need to get to 20,000? 19,816. So we're going to throw them 184. We're going to throw them 184 cases of the Rona to round them up to 20,000. They have 1.372 million workers, million frontline workers employed by Amazon during that period. That's a lot of people. So when you kind of put that into perspective of 20,000, doesn't seem like that many, does it? But if you think about 20,000, that's like a whole bunch of small towns that are all filled with people who have the Rona. And they just work for Amazon. But Amazon is so big that when you put that number into perspective, it's actually not. And then in this article, it goes on to say, Amazon CEO, in parentheses, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, he owns the Washington Post. All right. The tech giant has had a year of intense ups and downs due to the pandemic. Its sales have soared as people shop more online, especially while shelter-in-place measures have been in place in many states. But some employees pushed back publicly on its working conditions, and shipping delays caused customers to vent their frustrations online. That's one of the stories that I kind of read and heard consistently was Amazon was pushing out so much product that they basically didn't have any way to control their kind of safety, their in-house safety of people contracting the coronavirus. But based on these numbers, you kind of got to say that Amazon's done a pretty good job, right? If you just want to spout off about Amazon, that's one thing. But if you want to spout off based on numbers, I don't know. This just doesn't look that bad. Amazon emphasized that it is at a lower infection rate than the U.S. population. So Amazon employees have a lower rate as a percentage of total employees than the U.S. population rate of contracting the Rona. Lower. This is citing Johns Hopkins University numbers. All right. The numbers did not include the company's delivery drivers, who are typically contracted workers, according to Amazon spokesman Kelly Cheeseman. The numbers only show Amazon's infection rate in the United States and only includes frontline employees such as warehouse workers and Whole Food cashiers. The total number of Amazon frontline workers includes people who worked for the company at any point from March 1 to September 19, including workers who have now left the company. Warehouses have notoriously high turnover rates among workers. That is tough work. That's some tough work. You are on a clock, and you've got to get your set allotment of stuff out and done. It's a real pressure cooker, and I think it's physically hard work. And it's not for everybody, but it's got to be done. And a lot of it's done manually. You're just moving stuff around. Yeah, you've got some mechanical help, but it's still just a lot of work. It's warehouse work. And they've been so busy with this whole Rona thing that, they got a lot of people working for them. Some of them get the Rona. In March, workers in Spain and Italy tested positive for the virus and joined those in the United States and across Europe in signing a petition that called on Amazon to adopt stricter safety guidelines. This the Washington Post reported. More than 1,500 workers signed the petition, and one employee called the worker conditions totally insufficient to keep people safe. Since then, Amazon has rolled out stricter safety measures and started its own coronavirus testing lab to screen workers. Amazon said Thursday that it now conducts thousands of tests each day and has a goal to get to 50,000 tests daily at 650 sites by November. So who else can possibly pull that one off? I don't know. Probably not too many other companies, right? And this whole thing that I keep hearing about, it just wasn't safe for a period in the warehouses. I never really saw the data to back that up. Were those workers that are like, oh no, somebody got it here and I don't want to get it, so these working conditions are unsafe? I don't know. What was the real deal there? I never really kind of figured that one out. That's why I thought, well, let's take a look at it with this post. Some worker groups still think Amazon hasn't done enough. The group that represents retail and grocery workers called for a congressional investigation on Thursday. Amazon's disclosure is the most damning evidence we have seen that corporate America has completely failed to protect our country's frontline workers in this pandemic. Now, this is from Mark Perroni, president of the United Food and Commercial Workers International Union, said in a statement. What numbers are you using to back up that it's the most damning evidence we have seen that corporate America has completely failed to protect our country's frontline workers in this pandemic? I want to see those numbers, and if those numbers are shocking, all right, then we'll go with it. Otherwise, I'm not really seeing it. In the spring, workers criticized Amazon for still shipping unnecessary items and requiring employees to work at the same fast speed as normal. Oh no, still got to do the same job. But are there safety restrictions in place that disallow that? I don't know. Amazon says it has added measures including staggered employee break times, cleanings every 90 minutes, and temperature checks and face masks. It's kind of stuff that just all companies are doing now, right? But early on, I think there was such a big thing because Amazon was so hard-pressed to get all their product out that they maybe put some people in positions that those people feel like they shouldn't have been put in as an employee. That's kind of where I'm thinking. Backlash continued in April when the company fired a warehouse worker on Staten Island who had helped organize an employee walkout. They're quashing the union. It also fired 2 technical workers who had been publicly critical of the warehouse conditions. An Amazon vice president quit shortly afterward to protest the firings of the 2 technical workers as well as 2 warehouse workers. So that is, you got a vice president, 2 technical workers, and 2 warehouse workers. So that's 5 total. out of 1.372 million employees. Okay. Amazon said that at the time that it fired the tech workers for violating company policies, it said it fired the Staten Island coworker, Chris Smalls, for violating a quarantine. That's a different story, right? Amazon released the state-by-state breakdown of the cases. In most states, Amazon's infection rate was below the population as a whole, but not in Minnesota and West Virginia. Again, 2 states out of 52? So what we're saying is that these numbers are really pretty minimal. In Minnesota, Amazon employees had a 3.1% infection rate compared with a 1.58% for the state as a whole. So yeah, almost exactly double. In West Virginia, Amazon's number was 1.31% compared with 0.77% for the state. Again, a little less than double. But if you're 1.3% and you're 3.1% infection rate, it's not like Amazon is a 10% infection rate, right? Am I missing something here? I don't think I am. A lot of people have been saying over and over and over that Amazon is an unsafe company to work for with the whole Rona thing. And I've been hearing that, and I don't know. These numbers, it's unclear how many of the workers caught the virus while at work or from a coworker. That's a really good point right there. This might not be to do with Amazon work conditions at all. You got to consider that. Maybe these people are out, who knows where, catching it at another grocery store. Maybe they're catching it so many places. Maybe they took an Uber like I do all the time. They got the Rona on their hand and then they got it. I mean, we just don't know. It's such an infectious disease that for a lot of this stuff, you can't really pinpoint it, and to place blame upon one company for these kind of numbers. I'm not a huge lover of big corporate, but you got to be fair across the board. That's kind of all I'm saying here. Amazon urged other companies to also disclose their coronavirus infection rates. Let's see how Boeing did. How about Microsoft? How about, what's another big one that would be good? Uber. How about Uber? Those guys are in cars all day long. I know those are independent contractors, but they've got to have a stat on Uber, right? Let's see what those numbers are. I bet you they're higher than Amazon. We all have a vested interest in returning to some version of normal and safely helping our communities and the economy, it said in a blog post. That's per Amazon. Amazon's shipping and safety struggles during the pandemic have resulted in some boosts to its competitors, including Target and Walmart. Well, I think that's because Amazon got so overwhelmed at first. People are like, well, where else can I get stuff from? Let's do Target. Let's do Walmart. And I know Target and Walmart have done really well, but so have every other online retailer with any kind of product that's been in demand, right? That's where you had to shop. You got stuff online. You just went on your phone. I just got a new iPad, so I'm going to be buying some stuff on my iPad, but that's just what you do. You tee it up and you get it delivered. But Amazon's revenue surged 40% to $88.9 billion in its first full quarter affected by the coronavirus-fueled economic downturn. So that would be quarter 2, which would be April, May, June. Amazon's revenue surged 40%, and you're talking about Target and Walmart, kind of getting in on their business. How much did Target and Walmart do? Probably not as much as a surge of 40% in business. So almost $90 billion in a quarter. That is incredible. The company has been hiring all year to keep up with increased demand. It announced early in the pandemic that it hired a total of 175,000 seasonal workers to keep up with increased demand. It later said it would keep 125 of those jobs as permanent positions. Last month, it said it would hire 100,000 full-time and part-time jobs in the United States and Canada as the holiday season approaches. So we're not even in the holiday season here, are we? We're not even game time yet. And this is just going to be off the charts for Amazon. I bet you they see a quarter of over 100 billion. Just some nuts. Just they're selling stuff left and right. So if you are one of those businesses that has benefited from the coronavirus, I mean, you got to throw Amazon in there. And people look at Amazon and go, oh, they're terrible. They're putting out mom and pop businesses. Yeah, they are. But that is kind of how some of this goes, right? You want to talk about having a monopoly on business? All right. But there are other companies out there who are competing with Amazon. Maybe not as well, but has Amazon kind of got to it first? Do we break them down as a monopoly? I don't think so. A lot of other people would say otherwise. People have lost their mom and pop business. Yep, that's terrible. That's awful. But that's also kind of part of business, right? That's just the way it goes. Those who have the good idea, those who get to the market first, they're the ones that benefit. Everybody else, get in line, just kind of like Target and Walmart are. And I know Walmart's business has been doing, their online business has been doing really well. I don't really know about Target. I never really shop for at Target unless I have to. I can't really think of something. If I can't find it anywhere else, if I can't find it at Fred Meyer, I'll maybe go to Target. But Target always seems like it's in a location that's not easy for me to get to, and I don't really know why that is. Whereas Amazon, on my phone, on my computer, on my iPad, it's always right there. It's just a couple of buttons away from ordering something, and maybe it gets there today, maybe it gets there tomorrow. It's just so much easier than getting in my car and driving to the Rona-laden store, because all stores, as you know, got to wear a mask. I mean, there could be Rona anywhere in there. So that's it. So Amazon, 20,000 people. That's really not a huge number. Less than the infection rate of the U.S. population. Have to see if some other stories come out that just say, Amazon, you guys kind of underreported these numbers. Here's the real deal. This is why we're really worked up about your guys' safety precautions during all this production during the early months of the coronavirus. And I'm talking about February, March, April, and specifically March and April, because that's when we really knew, the stock market had already blown up. And that's when we were kind of looking around going, geez, what is this? These numbers are crazy. And then everybody started buying everything online, just online. So to me, 20,000 people getting sick, getting infected with coronavirus relative to the amount of people they employ, 1.372 million people. Those are good numbers. I don't know. That's just me. But as these numbers keep getting updated, or as we have another news story that goes along these lines, I almost guarantee you we'll have one that comes out and says, Amazon, you tweaked the numbers. I will report it to you right here on the Seattle Real Estate Podcast, because Seattle's a big Amazon. We're going to have to report the news to you. All right. Thank you so much. Again, I'm Sean Reynolds from Summit Properties Northwest, Reynolds and Kline Appraisal. I look forward to seeing you on the next one, whenever that may be, probably soon, because I'm recording at least a couple of daily podcasts. And I'll see you then. Thanks for joining. Catch up soon. Bye. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you'll know when our next video is out.